So, Cyprien here from FU4, and it's time to talk about OpenFoam. A lot of my viewers and subscribers asked me to make this video about OpenFoam. So I hope it will be useful and that you will like it, and ultimately I will do a series about those to teach you from the start how to install OpenFoam and how to use it using various kind of commented tutorials. But first, what is OpenFoam? Let's start from the basic, like usual. So OpenFoam is currently the leading free open source CFD simulation software on the market. So you can understand that it's an open source software which is free to use and which will allow you to do fluid mechanics simulations with it. Now it's owned by the OpenFoam Foundation, which released it as a GPL license. And the good thing about the GPL license is that it allows you to use the software for free and also to edit the software or to modify it like you want. And it really guarantees that the software always remain free to use. So that's a good thing. And I would say that this is probably the first advantage of using open source software, is that it's free, of course. Now, of course, the fact that it's free comes with some disadvantages, and I would say that in order to be really able to use open source software, you must be a really good engineer, or you must have access to really good engineers into your company, because engineers who want to use open source, of course you need to have the physics background, so know about numerical analysis and about fluid mechanics and fluid simulation. You need to know about all that, but in addition you need to know about computer science, for example, how to, let's say, make some scripts, how to use a Linux system, how to, all these kind of things that not necessarily difficult to acquire as a skill, but you need to have the will to do it and to learn this kind of thing to really get deeper and deeper into it. Now, the other drawback of using open source is that, of course, it's not as, let's say, as packaged as CFD enterprise software. So, especially for OpenFoam, you will not have a fancy GUI where you can build up your CAD model and modify and everything with a few clicks. This generally does not happen with open source. You have other open source software which have a GUI, but generally the GUI is maybe a bit confusing or difficult to use, or with a lot of functions. It's basically not really built with the, let's say, the user first in mind. It's more like a tool which can do almost everything. Well, not everything, but which can do a lot of stuff packed into one kind of package where you will find everything you need, but you will have to search for it. That's more or less what open source is. Now, of course, if you're ready to go forward and you know that you will have those difficulties along the way, that's fine, right? We're here to learn, we're here to make our skills better and become better engineers. So that's what I'm gonna try to do with you, and at the same time I will brush my own CFD skills, which maybe are a bit dusty right now, so we'll see. So in this video, the next part, I'll show you how to install OpenFoam, both on Linux and on Windows. I'll comment my personal experience on Windows, for example, and what I did to get it to work. And in the next videos, I'll do some tutorials. So I'll go through the documentation and the various tutorials, and I'll try to give you some real insight about what is useful to know, what is maybe not so useful, and how you can go faster to do all the things. So I hope this will be interesting, and if you like this kind of video and if all this is useful for you, please give a like to this video, please subscribe to my channel. This is a real help for me, this is a real boost to my channel. And okay, so let's start. Let's stop to talk and let's start with the real engineering stuff right now.
So the first thing to do is to go on the OpenFoam website, openfoam.org, and have a look at the options. So I'll be trying to install the latest version, OpenFoam V8. So if you head up to this page and you go down, you see that you have listed the option to install it on Ubuntu, on Linux, on Mac OS, and there is no mention of Windows. So before I actually install it on Ubuntu, let's have a look at what is proposed to install it on Windows. So there is a menu Run on Windows in which they are explained. So there are three options to install it on Windows. The first one is to run OpenFoam inside the Windows subsystem for Linux. So Windows subsystem for Linux, if you know about it, so it's also called WSL. It's some system within Windows 10 that allows you to run Linux systems. So there are now two versions. There are the version 1, which is some kind of emulator, and it was working pretty well on my system, but it's a bit slow, and you will not get the graphical interface through the version 1. Now there is a version 2 of WSL, but currently you can only get it if you are onto a beta Windows program, and I tried to install it, and I can tell you the road is very bumpy. One day it works, the other day Microsoft does a patch, it doesn't work anymore, then you have to search on internet how to make it work, and you're basically spending hours to try to solve something, which every time you run into problems. It cannot access internet, and anyway, at the moment I'm doing this video right now, I don't think this is a good option. So it's possible, but it's not a good option for me. The second option is to run OpenFoam within a virtual machine on Windows. So that's what I am going to do. If you can see here, I am using Oracle VM VirtualBox, which works very well, and I installed a Ubuntu 18.04 on it, and that's what I'm going to use to install OpenFoam. So you are basically running it on Ubuntu, but within Windows. And by the way, it's not compatible with hypervisor. So if you're trying to set up the first method here, and you will have to unactivate the hypervisor module to make the VirtualBox work again. Anyway, this is the best option. Now you have the third option, using Blue CFD Core on Windows 7 to 10. And this is another option possible. So I tried it. And this is using MSys2, which is also some kind of pseudo Linux distribution for Windows that can run some of the Linux software compiled specially for this. It works, but the only problem of using this is that you will get OpenFoam version 5. So it's a pretty old build, I feel. And if you want the latest one, it's probably better to go for the option 2. Or what you can do is to set up a dual boot on Ubuntu as well, and this will actually be faster than the virtual machine. But if you have a good computer, I have not many performance problem with the virtual machine. So I think this is good to actually try OpenFoam. Okay, so enough of that, and let's head up to the install of this tutorial. So let's go and read how to install it on Ubuntu. So you see that you have several versions for Ubuntu depending on what you're using. So I will be using this one, but the installation itself is the same. So the first thing to do is to use this command to actually download OpenFoam GPG key and add it to your repository on Ubuntu. So I'll just copy that, open a new terminal, and paste that into it. Enter. Give it my password. And if everything's going okay, you'll see that the key will be added. And if this is done, you can now add a new repository which will contain the binaries and the code of OpenFoam. And this means that Ubuntu will link directly with the folder where OpenFoam files and everything is contained within a remote repository. So then you only have to use the sudo apt-get update to get access to this repository, and sudo apt-get install OpenFoam 8 to install it. That's pretty straightforward. So the only thing is that you need to wait, make sure your internet is correctly set up and that you have a good connection. So let's wait a bit. So sometimes you'll see some failed error message, but I think it really depends on where you're located, your current internet network. And in this case, well, I don't think this is very relevant or important for this example. I think the repository was added, shouldn't be a problem. So let's do the sudo apt-get update, which will update my current installed repositories and see if that works. And okay, so it reads the package lists from all the repositories and there's no error on this, so it means it works. And now the only thing we have to do is to install that. So let's paste that again. Let's enter. And now you see that it just starts to download the install files and to unpack OpenFoam. So here we just have to wait because this might take a bit of time. It has to download some stuff. So let's just pause the video and okay, no, it was actually pretty fast. So I guess it had already downloaded before. Okay, so and now it is not finished, and here is a very important step. So if you forget this will not work. So make sure that you are following that. And it's not very complicated, but you have to read what is written here. So it basically tells you that to use OpenFoam, you need to add this comment to your bash rc file. So what does that mean? It means that basically OpenFoam is now installed here, opt OpenFoam 8 etc bash rc. Well, it's actually installed here in the opt folder. So we can have a look. Let's have a look. Let's go into my computer opt folder. And you see that now I have OpenFoam here. And OpenFoam, and it tells you that it wants to know what is into etc bash rc. So you have the bash rc file here. And you have to source this file into your main bash rc file. So what does that mean and what is the bash rc file? So if you're new to Linux, you might not know what it is. It's a very important file. The bash rc is a very important file that is read by each Linux terminal when you open a terminal, and will load some libraries and software which are located in various locations on your computer. So basically, your main bash rc will read the bash rc which is available here into the OpenFoam folder, and it will read the instruction in this folder and make all those executables and all this stuff in here available to your current terminal. So you will get new functions available for OpenFoam inside your terminal because you did this. So you understand that if you don't do it, you will not be able to use OpenFoam correctly because the OpenFoam functions will not be available. So I won't look in very detail on what this all means. This is bash script. So if you're interested to learn how to do bash scripting, you can have a look, but this is just out of the scope. We don't really need to know that. So now let me show you how you actually do what they ask to do. So I'll just, first I'll open my bash RC, copy. So I'm using Emacs, but you can use any text editor. And this is my current bash RC. And what you have to do is just to copy this line into it. Copy. So you can just copy it at the end, like that. And the point here is very important, but I prefer to use the keyword source. So it's exactly the same thing, but it's a bit more straightforward, so you understand a bit more what this means. This means that this will source the bashrc file, which is at this location, whenever you open that. So I just save that, close this, and now you have to open a new terminal prompt, otherwise the bashrc will not be loaded. And by the way, don't be careful of what you do into the bashrc. This might cause some problem if the syntax is not correctly written up into it. Okay, so now we have installed OpenFoam. So how do you use OpenFoam? Well, let's have a look at, so there are some installation problems that you might encounter. So if what I'm doing here, you try it and you find some problems, go back to this page here and you'll see you have a few errors which are mentioned. So we'll see if I get into some of those errors, but I've tried before and it was working, so I think it's okay. Here it's mentioned that what I just mentioned about you, and basically to see if the sourcing of the bashrc works, you can use this command, the simple foam command, and the help just to see if it actually worked. So let's do that. Simple foam help, and I get it. So which means that works. OpenFoam was installed correctly. Okay, so that's great. Now let's do this getting started just to see if everything is working okay, and if we can run our first test successfully. Now that OpenFoam is installed, let's test if that works. So I'll follow up this very simple testing example. I won't go into detail of what that means because that will be the purpose of the next video and the first tutorial where I'll really get into the details. So for now, let's just go through all those steps and see if we get simulation running. So mkdir, so I'm creating a directory, then I'm cding into this, then I'll copy example file from the examples which are provided. I'll cd into this example called pits daily. I create the mesh using this command. So the mesh seems created, so it's working. Now I will run the simple foam solver, and it works. So you can see that OpenFoam is installed, the solver is running. So now I just have to wait a bit that the computation is finished, and it is. And now let's have a look at the results. So launching Parafoam, and here I have my results. So seems to be working. Great. So I now have an installation of OpenFoam ready on my virtual machine within Windows. So thank you for watching this video. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you in the next tutorial video where I'll go into the details of each of the steps and how to actually get your first tutorial OpenFoam simulation. So see you there. If you like this video, if this was useful, please like it and let me know what you think, what you need, and what you want to know in the comments. Thank you, and see you next.